What's up, everybody? With the drop of Season 2 last week of Warzone, we got a big change to the sniper meta. That being the XRK Stalker has now entered the one-shot headshot club with the Victus, the Imperium, the MCPR, and of course the Cat. With it being a faster sniper than the Cat, aka ADS and movement and all that, people wondered, well, is this the return of the car? Especially when you see that it has a limited range of one-shot headshots, unlike those other snipers, which if you remember, or you weren't there for Warzone 1. At the end of Warzone 1, we had the SPR car and a handful of other snipers and marksman rifles that would one-shot headshot, but only up to anywhere from 50 to like 75 meters. And with this being a quicker sniper and being limited one-shot headshot range, people thought the car would be back. Maybe it's more like the SPR. While this is a very fun sniper and definitely has made me love sniping in Warzone again, it's not quite at that level. I think it's really fun to be aggressive with, especially on Fortune's Keep. Not as much on Urzikstan. If you're on Urzikstan, I would recommend staying with the Cat. But for the Resurgence maps, I would stay with the the Stalker, because it is more aggressive and it's more fun. So we're going to go through a few loadouts before we go over to true game data as usual. I'm going to show you my main loadout, the longest damage range loadout, and then a super aggressive loadout, which I personally wouldn't recommend, but if you just want to be super aggressive and running around the map and all that, I got a loadout for you as well. So let's go jump over to the loadouts, and we'll look at what I got for you. Okay, so we're going to start with, like I said, my recommended build. First, we have the Sonic Suppressor XL. It's going to give you additional bullet velocity and range. You do want to extend that range out some. And it hurts recoil control. Not an automatic weapon. We don't really care. We're not spam firing either. Hurts sprint to fire, not that big a deal. And aim walking steadiness, not walking while shooting it usually. And then, of course, it keeps you off the radar. Then we have the Fission 60 barrel, which gives you more bullet velocity and range. Helps with the aim idle sway, which is huge. And firing aim stability as well. Hurts hip fire spread, we're not doing that. Hurts ADS speed kind of a lot, but not too worried about that in this more balanced build. Hurts sprint to fire and aim walking speed, not super worried about those as well. Then we have the Razorhawk, which is the meta laser. Its laser is visible to enemies. I believe it is always visible, but I'm just not making a huge deal to that when it helps aim walking steadiness a lot, although you're not really doing that. Attack sprints, I don't really care. But the sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed when you're trying to use the more aggressive sniper are important. Of course, if you don't want the laser visible all the time, go with the FSS OLEV laser like we used to go with. That still helps with aim down sight speed and sprint to fire a lot, just not quite as much, but your laser will only be visible in ADS. And if you're being more aggressive, it's not like you're usually holding ADS anyways. Then for some more quickness, we have the no stock, which greatly helps your aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and aim walking speed. It does hurt your flinch resistance a lot, but we're just more trying to, even if it's not necessarily a quick scope, which is scope shoot, we're not holding ADS a lot, so not too worried about flinch resistance. Gun kick control, not too worried about. Aim idle sway, we already have that balanced out, and recoil control, not a sniper, we're not worried about recoil control. And then finally, the XRK Stalker Light Bolt for faster rechambering speed. It greatly helps your ability to increase your rate of fire, which of course helps, especially if you're hitting people outside of the damage range. I believe the damage range for this build is somewhere around 65 meters. It says it in the details here. 65.9 meters. So not super long range, but it is one shot up to, where you're getting into a lot of those engagements on the Resurgence maps, which, like I said, this is more of the Resurgence sniper. Save Urzikstan for the Cat. So if you want to just maximize your overall damage range, we're going to switch the Sonic Suppressor. Now, this greatly reduces bullet velocity, so you're going to have to lead a lot more. But if you want to use this maybe on like Urzikstan, this is definitely an option to increase that damage range a lot further out. We're going to go with the Mammoth 50 Suppressor, which helps your damage range way more. We're going to stick with the same barrel. We're going to stick with the same laser. Once again, you can go over to the FSS OLEV laser, which helps aiming stability, which the Razorhawk does not help with. And if you're trying to line up longer shots, you probably want the stability. So I'd maybe go the FSS OLEV laser for if you're just maximizing bullet velocity when using the big map, whatever. But I'm going to stick with the Razorhawk. We're going to go ahead and keep the Stalker Light Bolt, but where the big change really comes besides Suppressor is we're going to remove the stock, and we're going to actually surprisingly put explosive rounds on it. Now, like I said, this kills bullet velocity, but it really helps the range. If you go to the stats now we're all the way at 103 meters, which is still a fairly long snipe. We're at 103 meters total. The bullet velocity is way down. But, you know, this is for maximizing if you don't want to use the cat anymore, but you want to use the XRK Stalker on Urzikstan. It's something to consider. You just have to lead your shots way more. And then finally, if we want to look at an ultra aggressive build, we're going to go ahead and remove everything here except for the light bolt and the laser, because we're going to stick with the laser because once again, this helps your ADS and your sprint to fire time the most. And if you're being ultra aggressive, you're going to want those to be the highest, of course. So then we're going to actually change this barrel here to this handler LKP short barrel. You can already see here it reduces range by 40%. Like I said, this is if you're just going to be in people's faces, ultra aggressive. It's not my recommended sniper, but I know some people really like to play the car that way. Then we're going to go to the Choreo Eagle's Eye. Even though it doesn't say it in game access, it hurts aim down sight speed. They just don't change the description for snipers. This helps your ADS speed. And if you're really aggressive, you don't want, it's like 7 times for the default scope. You don't want the 7 times. We're going to keep the bolt, keep the fire rate high. And then we're going to bring back the nose stock. And we'll talk about numbers more when we go to true game data. But if you look, its ADS time here that's pretty much SMG level, or that's more like light AR level. Sorry, this is a much quicker build, but it's only 30.5 meters for effective damage range. So not super great if you want to really use it like a sniper. But if you just want to be super aggressive, run around, have fun in people's faces, this is definitely a build worth considering. That all being said, if you were just here for some loadouts, those are going to be your loadouts. We're going to go over to true game data, and we're going to use sim.gg to talk about these different builds, and as well as if it's really the car or the SPR Reincarnated, where, spoiler alert, it's really not. It's close, but it's not. But yeah, if that's all, if you just wanted loadouts, thank you so much for watching. For the rest of us, I'll see you over on True Game Data. Okay, so now you can see we're over on True Game Data. I have the 3 XRK Stalker builds as well as the Cat AMR build, the usual Cat AMR build for most people. You can see I have my Sonic Suppressor, Fission 60 Barrel, Razorhawk Laser, Nose Stock, and Stalker Light Bolt for my normal build. The Mammoth Suppressor and is on now. Instead of the stock, we have the explosive rounds for the maximum damage range build. And then for the super fast build, you can see we have the short barrel, the Razorhawk, the Eagle's Eye, the Nose Stock, and the Light Bolt. And then the Cat is the Sonic Suppressor, Zang 34, Razorhawk Light, Imperial Quick Bolt, and 50 cal high grain rounds. So your usual Cat AMR build. So we're going to come down first just to show an example of the one-shot headshot damage drop-off. We have head damage. I don't know why chest damage is also clicked. That's just a visual bug, I believe. We have head. There we go. It's fixed now. 300 health, TTK chart. So you can see the damage drop-offs. If you look at the quick build, the aggressive build, it drops off at 30.48 meters. You have my normal build that drops off at 65.87 meters. You have the max damage range build that drops off at 103.17 meters. And then you have your Cat that never drops off from one-shot headshot. What's more important here is going to be this table where we're going to look at ADS time. For the ADS for the XRK 3 Stalker, that's going to be 428 milliseconds. The maximum range is 632 milliseconds. The medium build, the normal build I would recommend, is 544 milliseconds. And then the Cat AMR is 699 milliseconds. But I think the most surprising statistic here is when you look at the XRK Stalker, the build that I recommend, the bullet velocity is actually higher than the Cat. And so that's kind of the balance of the one-shot range. But on Resurgence maps, the 1166 meters per second almost feels like hit scan within that one-shot damage range, 65 meters. It's virtually hit scan. And so that's really huge for that. Then what else is interesting is this fire rate. That'll come more into play when we talk about the SPR and the car here in a second. But the big things to note here are the bullet velocity and the ADS time. If you look at, we'll just throw an AR in here with no attachments just for a quick comparison for ADS times. We'll go with, what are people really, the RAM. The RAM's what people are using right now. We go down to our chart. The ADS time for the RAM 7 is 240 milliseconds. So it's not really that close. Now, if you build out the RAM, God, I don't know the RAM build off the top of my head. But we're just not going to worry about the RAM build. The RAM build with no attachments is 240 milliseconds. You're probably not using that. I personally use the Holger LMG, which I actually know that build off the top of my head. Muzzle is going to be Spirit Fire. Barrel is the, I thought I knew it. It's the Holger Factory Barrel. Optic is going to be the Choreo Eagle's Eye, which is already past me. Choreo Eagle's Eye. The underbarrel is going to be the heavy. Should have put this on there already. It's going to be, where is my heavy? I haven't favored it, so I'm like in my brain it's first. Bruin Heavy Support Grip. And then the stock is going to be the RB Adel stock. No, it's the Ascent Lord stock. Okay, so then like this is the AR I use. You look at ADS time, 443. The XRK Stalker is about 100 milliseconds. The recommended build, 100 milliseconds slower. The max damage range build is 190 milliseconds slower. But the XRK Stalker, which is really quick, the quick aggressive build is actually quicker to ADS. So that's how quick that build actually is. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of the Holger. We're going to get rid of the Cat here, because now we're going to go ahead and talk about if this is really the car or the SPR reincarnated. So we're going to have to go back and forth between a couple tabs here. So let's get down to our handy chart here. And we're going to look at the ADS time for the quickest build. The absolute quickest build that you can build, other than getting rid of the quick bolt and putting on like a rear grip, which now you're really slowing your rate of fire. We look at the ADS time for the quickest you can build minus putting that grip on is 428 milliseconds. The car was 305 milliseconds in this build. Now you could have put the Sport Comb on, and now it's 276 milliseconds. I preferred the Precision stock, and I think Precision Comb, and I think most people did as well. And then when you look at the SPR, 407 milliseconds for the meta SPR build. God, I miss both of these so much. So much. But the Stalker is really fun for the Warzone we have. 407 milliseconds. So the quickest build, even if you go ahead and remove the light bolt, and then you go to rear grip, and you put on, which one is it? It's the factory grip. We're still only looking at 418 milliseconds for the XRK Stalker. SPR, which is slower than the cars, 407 milliseconds. Now, where the Stalker is going to have would have an advantage over those old guns, which of course it doesn't have one because those guns don't exist anymore, is when you have this light bolt on, which increases 50% of your fire rate. The fire rate here is 75 rounds per minute, where the SPR was 58 rounds per minute, and the car was 44 rounds per minute. And then if we want to go into Black Ops Cold War, go snipers, go to the Swiss, which was the other favorite, 42 rounds per minute. So all of them fire slower than the Stalker does currently. So that's where it has the advantage compared to those old guns. But the old guns ADS'd way quicker, which is what people really loved about them. And people had even quicker ADS builds for the car, where they would remove the monolithic suppressor and then, or put like an optic on or a perk to make it ADS even faster. But as you can see, unfortunately, the car and the SPR are not really back. This is the closest thing that we've had to them since then. But I would argue that this probably feels more like, look at some snipers really quick. Maybe the AX50. Maybe it's more comparable to the AX50, which was monolithic suppressor, 32-inch barrel, tack laser. God, I never liked the AX50. I think it was stippled grip. And then was it the stock usually? Yeah, then I think it was the Arms Assassin stock. That's 531 milliseconds versus 544, 632, or 428. The 544, still the recommended build is going to be slower than the AX50, which was the bigger, heavy sniper that was a little bit quicker. And this was, I believe, the build for that. And then if you look at Cold War snipers, the Tundra was the quicker, heavy sniper versus the ZRG, the Pellington, and the Tundra. So this is more comparable to the Stalker as well. That was wrapped suppressor. This one I actually should know. The Combat Recon, the SWAT 5mm laser, and was it a stock? It was one of these stocks. Maybe it wasn't a stock. This was another gun that I barely used. Oh, it was under barrel. It was Bruiser Grip. Or is it Patrol Grip? It was Bruiser Grip. For your movement speed. And there's 491 milliseconds. We are looking at 544, 632, or 428. So it's not even quite the Tundra. So as fun as the XRK is, we are still not quite back to the days of being able to super aggressively snipe unless you want like no damage range at all. Still a very fun gun to use. It's become one of my favorites to use in pubs. It's not one shot in ranked, so I don't really care about it in ranked, but it's become one of my favorite to use in pubs. Hopefully you feel the same way because it's a blast. But that is the unfortunate news that it is not the car, the SPR Reincarnated. But with that depressing news, I will see you on Urzikstan, Fortune's Keep, and soon we'll be back to Ashika and Vondel. But get frying. Have a good day. Bye.